I want to see the cool things.
I'll get the extension right.
You're ready. Cool. So now we've got Mike. Your talk isn't up there. It's not intentional. It's not intentional. Okay.
I'll point them in.
Josh, get on Elvis for a second. We've got it up there, but we don't have it.
Slides. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on there.
So while we're putting my slides on the screen, you can all see.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Mike is an Android developer here in Sydney. He's done a number of talks for us before and is a Kotlin expert. Yeah, a Kotlin expert. He is responsible for us getting freebies from JetBrains, so you will need to thank him for that. And please welcome him to the stage. Oh.
There we go. Can anyone hear me? Yep. All right. So you probably at least attended one or a couple of my Kotlin talks. So, this is a demo version of the YAO conference, but the YAO conference talk is going to be, basically starting from my first talk. So starting from, hey guys, have you ever heard of Kotlin kind of thing before? So I won't bore you with that. So let's see what's covered. I thought, what are the things that I've already covered? And what are the things that I'm going to cover, but potentially not to the same degree as I would in the YAO conference talk. So what's not covered is what is Kotlin, but I'm still going to ask a question of who's used Kotlin in something. Show of hands. Doesn't have to be production, just in something. Okay, all right. I would have expected more, but anyway. So I'm not going to talk about why I use Kotlin. Is Kotlin ready for production? All I'm going to say on that is yes. Yes, it is. And I'm not going to do an example Android app because emulators, because we only have 20 minutes. So what I will cover is basically I thought, what are the topics that I haven't covered to a deep enough kind of extent previously that I've been asked about or I've mentioned kind of vaguely but never really went into it. So one is performance. What I hear a lot about Kotlin is it fast, is it as fast as Java? Is it, if not, is it completely slow or, can we tolerate it? So I'll cover that. Kotlin support and Gradle. So I did a talk at the JVM community last week about that. So I'll do like a brief kind of thing, just mention what it is. Big thing that I want to do is new features in Kotlin 1.1. So the new version is coming out very soon. There's already a preview out, and there are quite a few cool features in that. And that will give me some excuse to do some live coding that will hopefully not blow up because it doesn't have anything to do with the emulator. And that's what the nifty coding tricks demo is all about. So performance, very handy. A few weeks ago, the engineering blog for the company KeepSafe, I'm not going to do a promo on them because they didn't pay me. And so they wrote an article about benchmarking the compilation speed on Kotlin versus Java, which was a massive issue, especially when Java, the Java Android got incremental builds, which fixed the problem, well, kind of to a certain degree, fixed the problem for compilation speeds on Java. And everybody was saying, well, we have it in Java, so why would I switch to a language that doesn't have it? And then Kotlin came out with the same thing, since I think 1.0.2. So the KeepSafe guys did a kind of write-up of just very basic tests on the compilation time, and their configurations were, one, just a clean build with no Gradle daemon, which is probably the silliest way to do it because, that's basically kind of removing all of the optimizations that you can, but it's still a good benchmark to test it against. Then the clean builds with Gradle daemon, and then incremental builds in no files changed, isolated files. So basically, they don't require recompiling kind of intertwined parts of the app. And then the core file changes, which means a lot of stuff will be recompiled. So they came out with really nice diagrams, which is very friendly for the presentation. So let's see. Blue, if you can't see, is Kotlin. Red is Java. So, and again, if you can't see the seconds, the top one is 30. I would say the top one is 35 or something like that. So you can see that for clean builds, so no optimizations running, Kotlin is losing by about 5 to 10 seconds. So this is 10 consecutive runs. I think there are 10 yet, with absolutely the same conditions. So if you've noticed it before, the compilation speed sometimes varies quite wildly. Let's keep the questions to the end. So yeah, that's the baseline, no optimizations run, which is still, I mean, if you think about it in practical terms, 5 to 10 seconds, not a big deal. Clean builds with Gradle daemon running. So obviously, since the Gradle daemon needs to spin up first, it's going to be a gradual decrease. And you're seeing that the differences between Kotlin and Java are starting to kind of flatten out. So we're no longer talking about 5 seconds or 10 seconds. They're flattening out. Incremental builds. So that's an interesting one because as we go along, they're basically the same, and you're going to start seeing at the end that they're actually starting to jump between the two. So sometimes Java's winning, sometimes Kotlin's winning. And this is incremental builds with no file changes. So most cases, you won't run that. Incremental builds with isolated file changes. And that's where Kotlin's starting to go down a little bit. So you're seeing the same kind of difference with about 5 seconds in the isolated file changes. And skip to the next one, core file changes. So this is a lot of the code in the app will have to be recompiled. You're seeing that Kotlin's actually faster in those cases. So that's performance covered. Kotlin support in Gradle 3.0. So to give you some background on what this is, you're probably right now using Gradle 2.14.1, I think is the official supported version of Gradle. Meanwhile, Gradle released the 3.0 version about a month ago, and one of the exciting features that it has is it supports Kotlin instead of Groovy. Well, not instead of, in addition to Groovy. When I say it supports Kotlin, I don't mean that you can build Kotlin apps with Gradle, because you could already do that before. What I mean is you can write build scripts and plugins in Kotlin, which is quite nice. I won't go into too much detail because, again, I spent a whole talk before covering it, so it takes a while. But some of the highlights, great ID support, surprise, surprise, JetBrains. Consistent syntax highlighting, which is kind of all the same thing, and code completion. Bad news, this morning I had another one in there that said 3.0 is unfortunately not yet supported by Android. But since, as Zara mentioned, they released 2.2 plugin literally this morning, or maybe like nighttime in our time zone, that does support it. It doesn't encourage it, so it doesn't it doesn't make you upgrade to 3.0, but it no longer throws the version check issue which it did before. It basically didn't run, and you had to override the version check. You had to say, don't care about the version check, still build it, I know what's best, which you do a lot. Not all features are available right now, so most of them are available, but most of them aren't documented. So basically right now, all you have to go by is the samples folder in the GitHub. So basically it gives you 3 or 4 examples that give you some of the kind of very, very simple things that you can do with it. So if you can get it to run, you're fine. You can use it for production. It's obviously in the production release, so go for it. But it will be kind of difficult. More information, that talk, and the samples that I mentioned. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that. New features in Kotlin 1.1. So if you've been to my talk, I think last year, or possibly earlier this year, I went through briefly went through a list of features that are going to be in 1.1. So to give you some background, the current version is 1.0.3, and 1.1 is reserved as a pathway for all of the new features. So 1.0.x is bug fixes, stability updates, that kind of thing. 1.1 is we'll give you new features, possibly some breaking changes. So I think 3 months ago or 2 months ago, they made 1.1 available as an EAP, so early access preview, I think, which gives you some of the. It basically gives you all of the features, but it's not really guaranteed that, it's not really encouraged that you use it in production. So let's look at some of the features here. These are all of the features that are presented. So I won't go through all of them. I'll just filter the ones that are relevant for Android. I mean, the first one, coroutines, it's basically just a threading thing. So it will potentially be relevant to Android at some point once people, once somebody actually implements it for, Android async tests or threads or whatever. But right now, it's only for backend or desktop applications. So type aliases are pretty cool. I'll actually just show you how to use them later. Bound callable references, same thing. I'll get to the last one first because it doesn't actually have any code to show you. So I'll cover that off first. So right now, and I'm talking about the production version, so 1.0.x, all of Kotlin code is compatible with JDK 6, so which obviously makes it play nice with Android. But obviously a lot of stuff, think about all of the stuff that's improved since 6, in 7, in 8, and think about all of the performance improvements that have been added to that. So the Kotlin team realizes that, and they are adding that support in Kotlin by virtue of providing the standard library, which contains the actual runtime of the language. They're providing that as just a runtime for JDK 7 and a runtime for JDK 8, which takes kind of advantage of all of those additions. So that's about it. You literally just include it as a dependency. So instead of standard library, you say standard library JRE 7 or 8, and off you go. So I think that's all of the slides that I have. So I'll just shift to IntelliJ and show you some of the stuff here. So first of all, for those who are interested, this is what. So I will put it in presentation mode. So this is what a build script in Kotlin looks like. Not really anything exciting, slightly different syntax, but that's about it. It's quite simple to get going with it, but it will take you some time to figure out what the syntax is. And this is what I meant when I said the standard library now has the JRE 8 as one of the options in it. And you can see that you can do little functions to cut down on just the boilerplate code that you have in your dependencies. So what this function does is it just returns the dependency parameterized by the module and by the current version of that dependency. So to give you some idea of why this is useful, any libraries that have like 5 different dependencies with converters and extensions and things like that. So Arcs Java would be one of them, or Realm would be another one, where you can just kind of create little conveniences methods for yourself. And it's literally one line, so it's pretty cool. So let's see. We go back to the. There we go. That's what I want. So if I go back to the demo, that's my cheat sheet with all of the prepared stuff. Okay, so this is an example of how to use type aliases. So you've probably seen it in other languages. I'm pretty sure Scala has it. I'm pretty sure C# has it. Not sure about any of the others. But the idea is, you have some logical type, like, for example, width or height or action or anything like that. And you want to abstract away the implementation of that type. So you don't care whether it's a double, a float, or any of those. And you want to be able to change that. So, if you want to go from an integer to, a double, for example, you don't have to go through all of the code and change all of the instances. All you have to do is just change the type alias. So that doesn't really run in any interesting way, so I'll just skip that. So bounded call references. I didn't copy everything. There we go. So let's say you have a class, and a class has a method that is an instance method. So if you want to be able to pass that method into another method, basically as a function, if you want to say, hey, use this function to do something useful, instead of just packaging that into like a handler, for example, so like a local lambda, basically stored as a local instance variable, you can do this. You can just say, we have our instance of the handler, and you can just say double colon handle index. And that means we can pass this method as basically just the signature. So the string being the input and the unit being output. Unit is like void, if you don't know. That's basically what bound callable references are. They have that in Java 8, but it's not in Java 7 or any of the others. I'll probably just quickly run through them because I'm rapidly running out of time here. So local delegated properties are basically the same as delegated properties, so they're like lazy instance variables that they had before, but they had to be in the, at the top of the class, so they had to be instance bounded. What you can do now is you can just do a local one inside of the method. So you can just say, this is some huge evaluator class that is expensive to instantiate and is expensive to store. So we're going to say, if some condition before we can run it isn't met, then why do we even waste our time and resources instantiating some huge evaluator? So what that means is that until this has evaluated to true, and until you've reached this line, this will never get called. So you're basically saving yourself some resources. Inline properties, so won't go into too much detail about what inline stuff is, because it's kind of a big thing. Hadi, if you've attended the Kotlin event last month, Hadi kind of went into that quite a lot. But now you can have getters and setters inline as well. So quickly, data classes can now extend other classes. So just shorthand, kind of Scala style classes can now have inheritance. Seal classes can now contain data classes. So basically just a whole bunch of stuff that you can inherit from other stuff that you couldn't before. And that's about it. So let's get back to the slide so that I can show you the links and stuff. But I think I'm pretty close to time there. There we go. So the documentation is still there. The slides for this talk are on my website. EAP 1.1 is now available. All you have to do is include it as another repository in your Gradle and just use the version. Oh, and actually another thing that I wanted to mention. So how many of you sign up to Android Wiki? Yeah, so quite a lot of you. There's another one called Kotlin Wiki now that's essentially exactly the same. So it just posts links every day, every week, as the name suggests, about Kotlin. It's not really as many links because obviously not a lot of stuff gets written about Kotlin yet, but you expect about 5 to 10 links every week. So most of the stuff most of the resources I got for this talk were mentioned at some point in that. So gives you some idea. And that's about it.